Welcome back to the second part of this Football Manager 2024 Beginner's Guide. And in this part, we're going to go through the first steps after taking over the new club, such as picking a tactic and evaluate our team, start looking at maybe we want to replace some players or sign some new players. And when we have taken over a new club, we got some news in our inbox. We are getting a supporter profile and the culture and expectations that we saw earlier. And we get the same from the club. Of course, this one, we recognize this from the last episode. We get some information on the players that are in their last year of a contract. So these are players that we may want to offer a new contract. If we don't, we risk losing them as free transfers. Of course, we need to think that one through thoroughly. And we also get a tactic introduction. So let's create a tactic now and follow this guide. When we create a new tactic, we are getting to pick here from quite a few different options. And of course, we can always create one from scratch. But I'm thinking, since we are Liverpool, and Liverpool is known as having Jurgen Klopp as our manager, we could start with a gegenpress. Then maybe later on we want to maybe do some changes to it. But let's start with it. I think it's a good option. I will get some more information about gegenpress, how it works, and different roles created. So yeah, let's go for that one. And then we're going to choose a formation. And in Football Manager, you can actually pick different tactics for your team. So I usually pick a more defense-minded tactic and a more attack-minded tactic. And then I use the more defense-minded for like tougher games and the attack-minded for easier game. Maybe a weaker club at home or things like that. So the tactic builder here gives us the advice of a few different formation for our gegenpress. And just by looking at this, I feel like this one would be the more defensive-minded one, where we have a deep line playmaker or a defensive midfielder. And then perhaps one of these two will be the more attack-minded. And for now, I think we're going to go with this one. But later on, maybe we're going to have a third tactic using two strikers too. Maybe we need some crazy attacking when we are behind and it's just 10 minutes left. But let's start with a defense-minded formation. So just going to confirm this. And now we have created the basics of our tactics. And these are default options. And since I want this one to be maybe my more defense-minded version, we could change the mentality from positive to balanced or even cautious or defensive. And this is a setting I'm probably going to change on match basics. So depending on who we're up against and how tough the challenge is going to be, might switch through this one. So for now, let's stick with balance, kind of in between. And if you want to start making this one more of your own tactic, you can click on these options and you get a lot of settings here for in possession, in transition, and out of possession, like defensive lines and how hard you want to tackle and so on. And these things you can experiment by yourself when you're starting to get the hang of it. So now I'm just going to leave it at the default options. But we created a little bit more defense-minded tactic. We could even set this one to cautious for now. And then we can click the plus here and create a new tactic. And for now, we're going to stick with the gegenpress. We know that Jurgen Klopp has Liverpool working very well with that formation. And for this one, we're going to go for a little bit more attack-minded, like one striker, 3 attacking midfielders. And we're going to stick to positive on this one. So when we are up against easier opponents, this could be the formation. And for tougher opponents, this one could be the formation. And we could experiment with mentality and things like that on a case-by-case basis. So now we're not going to pick the team. And we will come back to tactics more later on in a future episode when we're actually starting to set up our team for an opponent. But since we created tactics, we can now go to the squad planner. But before that, let's take a look at the last couple of news we have our inbox. And the next one is just some information about the players returning from the preseason and their fitness level and a few things like that. We have an injury update to to see what players that are injured and for how long they are expected to be out. We get some squad selection rules because each league that you will be a manager of is going to have rules and they can change from league to league. And since we are Liverpool, we are playing in the Premier League, and we're also getting some information for the UEFA Europa League because we're not in Champions League, we are in the Europa League. And here's just some short information about like the min amount of players, max amount of players. But there are a lot more rules that we can check out later, like how many loan players and things like that, and homegrown players. And we also get an update about the transfer window. And of course, this transfer window have already happened in real life. So things like Harry Kane going for Bayern Munich and Declan Rice to Arsenal, stuff like that, it's already happened, these transfers, even though we are pretty early in the season. So we already seen the transfer window, but we're going to get a chance to do some changes to that. But now, let's head over to that squad planner I mentioned before. And when we have picked a tactic, if you haven't picked a tactic, this whole screen will be blank. You can do a lot of squad planning and basically get information for each role. So now we have the goalkeeper, and we can look at positions, and we get information about like what players our assistant manager consider the best for each position. And we can also see some stars here, like this is how the game try to decide how good we are in different positions. But for now, you should take these star ratings with a big amount of salt, a huge amount of salt. You can also have like plans for future seasons. We're not going to dive into details with this. We have a experience matrix that we can see like you have players in development, emerging players, peak players, and experienced players. We also have under report, this is one that I like, the best 11. This, in my mind, this is a fantastic tool to get an overview on what positions we might need to strengthen and what positions we are good at. And right now, it's built, we can check out our 2 different formations and starting to see, like, is there any formation, any position where we may want to strengthen our squad? And if we go back to the squad planner, we can also click on different positions. We're going to get some more information. And right now it says role ability. And that's because when we went to our tactic, and now we're going to skip this one for now, you can tell that we have different roles, like a wing back or a full back and so on. So depending on what role we have picked here, if we change this one around, it may look different in the squad planner, who they recommend as our best player. You can also go to the assistants report and get even more information about the team, strong weaknesses, strengths, and so on. Oh yeah, I forgot, in the news here, we had the vision that we saw earlier, and we could try to negotiate about the vision, try to change things, or we could just accept the current vision, and we're going to accept the current vision. Another view that could be useful to take a look at is the dynamics view. And the dynamics view gives us things like if people are happy or unhappy, gives us information like do they support us or not as a manager, or what players get along well with each other. So if you take a look at the hierarchy and we click on ourselves, we can tell that we only have 1 player supporting us right now. And there's nothing strange with that because we've just taken over the club. We are completely new. Clearly, we need to earn their trust. But we could also click players here to see what players are a part of their social group, so to say, who are their friends. And you can also see the social groups here. We can get an overview of their happiness, and there's different happiness levels from training to treatment to club to management, playing time, overall happiness. We have a code of conduct. We are not going to go into this one yet, but we are going to pick a code of conduct later on, and usually just go with the one that's suggested by your team captains. You may also want to have a team meeting, so let's do that. We are new managers here, so it's time to introduce ourselves to the squad. And when we do this, we are neutral in the beginning, and what do we want to say here? And are we going to talk about the FA Cup, something else, Europa League? Let's talk about the Premier League, because that's the one I care about the most, since we're not in the Champions League. Maybe we should not say that we win the title, maybe, but we have a lot of good, strong players. Since we're only in the Europa League this season, I'm not going to say that our plan is to win the league. Let's just say that we're going to qualify for Champions League. But there is a risk of then getting displeased, because there are some good players in the squad. Maybe they want higher ambitions, but no. Well, they're not dissatisfied, but I think that was a good one. And you can do gestures to how you look when you say things. But for now, we're just going to say brilliant. That was what I wanted to hear. And let's talk about the Europa League. And we are aiming to win this one. Yep. And they like that one. And other than that, let's see. I don't think I have nothing else to talk about. We don't want to make any promises here, because I'm recording this one. I haven't even had the time to think through what promises I would like to make. Some people might be unhappy with that, but yeah, it looks great. Fantastic. So let's move on then. Summary, how the players reacted, and you can look at their morale. Got a large morale boost. Many of them, they liked what I said. Let's leave the team meeting. Next up, I'm going to take a look at the squad, and maybe it's time to sell some players or start looking around to sign some players. But that will happen in the next episode, so make sure to press that like button if you want me to keep on making content like this. And if you're new here, subscribe to this channel for more FM24 content. Thank you for watching.